What's up YouTube, Justin Fuller here, and today I'm hopping outside of a 2023 Honda HRV EX-L. That's the top of the line as far as their compact SUV goes. So if you're thinking you want a Honda, you want a compact SUV, and you want to spend around $29K, this is a good option. But before you do, why don't we compare it to some of the other things out there in the market? So let's hop on in. So let's talk about what's underneath the hood of this Honda HRV. So let me pull you on in here and let's talk about it. So you were looking at a 2-liter engine putting out 158 horsepower. This is running to a CVT transmission. And then of course you can see all your basics here. Your battery, your fuse box, your air, and as you wrap around, you've got places to access your oils and different fluids that you may need as far as the vehicle goes. All right guys, so before we leave the front end of this vehicle, I want to talk to you about horsepower. This car is putting out 158 horsepower underneath the hood, but I also want you to be able to compare this to what else is out there in the market. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen so you can see how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market. Now, after you've taken a look at that, let's talk about miles per gallon. All right, guys, so I'm standing back here next to the gas store for obvious reasons. I want to talk to you about miles per gallon, especially over the last year when we talked about how sensitive gas prices have been. They've jumped up, they've come down a little bit, they've gone back up. So this car gets 26 in the city and 32 on the highway. That is in the 2-wheel drive model. If you're looking at the all-wheel drive, I want to say it drops about a mile per gallon below that. But while we're back here and talking about that, of course you may be saying to yourself, Justin, is that good? And I would say, well, why don't we compare that to some of the other makes and models out there in the market? So I'm gonna throw that up on the screen so you can check it out and understand how this car stacks up. All right guys, so here we are at the back of this HRV, and of course I wanna talk to you about cargo space. If you're looking at this car, there's probably a reason. Probably you're an active person, or your job requires cargo space, or you got kids, or you got dogs, or you got all of the above, right? So let's pull you on in here and talk about this. So what you're looking at right here is gonna be 24.4 cubic feet of cargo space. Now, of course, you can flip these seats down. Before I flip them down, I'll point down that you do have your tethers and anchors, so if you need to have car seats or anything like that, you absolutely can. So let's go ahead and throw these seats down, right? So you got your clips right here, easy enough to get to. Now, when you have this laid out, you have 55.1 cubic feet of cargo space. What I like about this though is that it gets nice and flat here. So you can see that I got this cargo liner in here, or cargo mat I should say. I'm gonna pull that out. That's something that the customers opted for to add to the car. But when you pull that out, you can really get a feel for how flat this is. So if you decide to go camping and it gets real bad weather, you can easily camp inside of your car, or if that's just how you like to camp, throw an air mattress in here and camp inside the car. Now while I'm back here, I'll point out that you do of course have some tie downs back here, right? So if you need to tie anything down for any reason, you absolutely have that. And then I want to get underneath here and talk about some things. So the first thing you'll see is the jack and accessories that you'll need in case you need to change your tire, and this magical funnel here, which I'll explain in just a second. Now underneath all of this is where you're gonna find your spare. It is a full diameter spare, meaning it is full height, just not full width. So two things: one, you've got a spare, and two, it's not the donut where you can only drive 35 miles an hour on it, which pretty makes it pretty much useless if you get lost out in the middle of nowhere, right? So know that you've got decent amount of cargo space, 24.4 and 55.1, and then of course you do have a spare. So before we leave the back end and I explain what this is, I want to talk to you about two different things. One, cargo space comparisons. So with the seats flipped up, 24.4 cubic feet of space, I want to throw a comparison up on the screen so you can understand how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market. Now, after you've taken a look at that, now we're gonna flip those seats down and talk about that 55.1 cubic feet of space. So I'm gonna throw a comparison up so you can see how this car stacks up to other vehicles out the market with the full cargo space, in case you're looking and this is important to you. After you take a look at that, let's talk about this. All right, guys, so if you don't know what this is, I'm gonna explain it to you. It could be a tiny beer bong, it could be a shiwi, it could be a lot of things in life. It could be for jazz music. That's not jazz, that's really more of like, I don't know, nights and whatnot. But either way, let's talk about what this is. So I want to open the gas door here and show you something. When you come around here, you'll notice that the gas door no longer has the standard like tighten up grill. So one thing, you're not going to set up your check engine light if you don't have that tighten all the way. Kind of cool. It is a valve setup right here that pushes back. However, if you run out of gas, you're going to need to be able to hold that open while you pour gas in, because you may not have a standard, gas can to do it. So if you had to fill something to do it, that's where this comes into play. You push that in there, it'll hold it open, and then you can pour your gas. So if you ever run out of gas, this may come into play, and just know that you have it and where it is. All right, guys, so as we start to leave the back end, I want to talk to you about something real quick, just because I moved a bunch of this stuff around. One, I want to talk to you about that cargo mat. So what you saw in here, right, you can obviously buy this from Honda, but of course you can get this like on places like Amazon and different places. So I'll throw a link up in case you want to get one, because typically Honda OEM parts are just a little bit more expensive, and I have had a lot of things shipped out to me, and they do fit really well. Now, that is one thing that they've added from the dealership. Now, the secondary thing that I want to talk about, I'm going to reach down and grab it, is this car does come with carpeted floor mats. So know that that's not something you have to buy after the fact. Some of the vehicles out there, you're actually going to have to pay extra if you just want floor mats, which is, to me, kind of nonsense. Now, to take it one step further, I'm going to reach down again and grab something. These guys have opted for the all-season floor mats, right? So you can see that kind of in the picture there. And these are, of course, the Honda ones. Now, I will tell you that the Honda ones, they're a little bit pricey. There's a lot out there. Now, I've been sent multiple floor mats by different companies on Amazon who have asked me to review them. And a lot of times, guys, they're the exact same thing. They're laser cut. They're made with the same kind of rubbers. They do the exact same job. They just happen to be cheaper, and they just may not say Honda on them. So if you're interested in an all-season floor mat, something kind of like that one, but maybe just not the Honda one, I'll throw a link up in the description. In the description, you'll see links for all these different things if you want to look at them in a little bit more affordable pricing on Amazon, which I think pretty much all of us trust at this point. So, all right, guys. So before we go any further, of course, I want to talk to you about something I think is really important, and I feel like every make and manufacturer makes it really hard to understand, and that's what's the difference between the trim levels, right? How much am I going to pay and what am I going to get? They always seem to make that this really convoluted, really hard to understand thing, and I think Honda does it a little bit more clear cut than some of the other ones out there that have packages and all these different things where you really never know how much something costs. So I want to talk to you about pricing, and I want to talk to you about trim levels. So this is the EX-L, which, let me take off my sunglasses here, which, shout out to Knockaround. They don't even sponsor me, but I like their sunglasses. If you're looking to spend 20 bucks and want some, just gonna put it out there. But let's talk about this now. This is an EX-L, and this car starts at $29,090, and that's including the destination charge that everyone has to pay. So this is the top end model, right? So I want you to understand, hey, if I'm getting this model instead of the model below this, right, the Sport, what is the list of items that I'm getting extra, right? And how much extra am I paying? Now, the difference between the Sport and the EX-L, I want to say is about 1,800 bucks, but I want to throw up on the screen that list of items that you're getting in this car that if you drop down, you will not get in the Sport, so that you can understand that, right? So EX-L, list of items, you're paying X amount more, which is about 1,800 bucks. Now, if you move down to the Sport, right, we've already seen the list of items I'm giving up, but I want to show you what the MSRP is, which I want to say it's like, I don't know, if I was good at math, 29,900 minus about 1,800 bucks. So I'll throw it up on the screen here. And now from your Sport, you go down to an LX, which is your base model. Now between those is a $2,000 chunk. But I also want you to understand that, hey, if this is a little too much car or it's just really outside of the budget, hey, if I go from the Sport down to the base model, one, how much money am I gonna save? And then two, what is that list of items that I'm gonna give up? So that you can understand really from top to bottom, pricing differences, and then of course, what's the list of items? So I'm gonna throw that up on the screen so you can understand, hey, I'm giving up this list of items from the Sport, which is the model below this one, down to that LX, right? That base model, right? And then of course, you can save that extra money that you're seeing on the screen as well. So this way you understand kind of, hey, how does this climb as far as trim levels? Because there's 3 of them. And then of course, what am I saving or what am I spending extra to buy? So now that you've taken a look at that, let's talk about the rest of the car. All right, guys, so here I am in the back seat of this Honda HRV, and I gotta say, pretty spacious. I am a 250 man, I'm right at about 6 foot, and I'm actually working with a good amount of space back here. Let me show you. I set the seat up, the front seat for me, and I've still got some room back here to work with as far as knees, which, shout out if you're a sneakerhead there. Got my J's on. But to give you an idea, you have 37.7 inches of leg space back here. Now, I want to throw a comparison up on the screen so you can understand how does this car stack up to other vehicles as far as leg space in the second row? Because when you're standing outside of this car, it can be kind of deceiving to look at it and go, and there ain't no way my family's fitting in that. But when you actually hop in, you go, this might actually work. So take a look at that. And then let's continue on through the car here. So we're in an EX-L. So the first thing I want to point out is you've got this nice leather interior, and they've done a pretty nice job stitching it, right? So you've got a good look to this. They've got perforation down here through the center, and a nice seam here that's kind of a gray finish on black. When you move over, you're going to see your speaker system. So I want to say you have an 8-speaker system in this car. Depending on the trim level, it is of course going to matter as to how many speakers you have, but not wattage wise. Now, when you get over here, of course, you have one pocket. Forever Honda, never giving you that second pocket. I don't know why. And then my biggest complaint about this car is arguably right here. It's hot. It's Texas. And if you live in a state like that that's hot or gets super cold, I mean, this is cool. I like being able to store my phone and all. However, I don't have a USB to plug it into, so that's kind of lame. And if I'm not going to get that, give me air vents. put air vents in the back of this vehicle. And obviously, if I want to use a USB, the nearest ones, I've got two that are on both sides of this center console, which is actually a little bit different from the previous generation. However, I guess I could run a line through there, down underneath and back here, which would be kind of cool for your second row passengers. It eliminates having that. But if you want to use them in the front, it makes some kind of useless just because you're gonna have wires and stuff dangling all over you. But we'll talk about that here in a second when we hop up front. All right, guys, so here we are in the front seat of this Honda HRV 2023 EX-L. And of course, once again, you have the beautiful leather interior with the same stitching and patterns and that same theme that we saw in the back of this car. But I want to talk to you about leg space because I've got like half a foot sitting in front of me, which I'll show you here in just a second. You've got 41.9 inches of leg space in this vehicle. And it's width too. I've got a good amount of width, so it's not one of those ones where you're always banging your leg, because I'm not a little dude. And I understand there's some bigger dudes out there. So I'm trying to take care of all of us here. But let's talk about what you're gonna see. But first, I wanna throw a comparison up on the screen so you can see how this front row leg space in this specific vehicle stacks up to some of those other makes and models out there, you know, that live out there, right? That compete with this vehicle. So after you've taken a look at that, let me flip us all around and show you what some of these amenities, what are these things you have in the car? So let me grab us here and I'll bring us in here. So of course we talked about the leather interior. It's got that same theme and that same stitching, the gray on black. I'm saying it right now. And then the gray on black here. You got black plastic, always black on the door sills on the top to help prevent glare. They've set this up a lot like a Civic now, so you've got this real kind of nice sleek look to this. I really do like it. Your AC controls, dual climate control, part of that EX-L package, those heated seats living right there, and of course right there, which I'm gonna turn that off because it's like 8,000 degrees, AKA 94 in Texas. I do have a powered, a phone charger, right? So kind of cool that I can throw it on there and charge my phone. I've got a USB here. You saw them earlier. I've got a USB here and then one on the other side way over here. And then I've got a pass-through. What I would use that pass-through, I don't know. I guess you could plug your phone in and just leave your phone there if you had like a half-foot, you know, cord as far as a USB. I don't know, but you could do it. And then of course your storage in the center here, right? And then your parking brake holds, which I'll go over these in here in just a second. But I just want you to get a general feel of what the front looks like. And then of course you got speakers down low, which if you could see it, let me get in there and kind of get there. There you go. And then of course tweeters up top. So let's start walking across the dash and then I'll go over the steering wheel and of course the touchscreen. So one of the first buttons I want to point out is of course vehicle stability assist. This works with your traction control. So in the event that you go into a skid, it'll transfer power to whichever wheel is getting better traction to help correct for this. This is always on unless you press and hold this for a couple seconds to turn it off. Now, as you come up here, I'm gonna move to the steering wheel and talk about a couple different features here. First, we'll talk about the left side, and then I wanna talk about some Honda sensing safety features that you have available to you. So the first thing is, of course, the home button here. When I press the home button, it'll open up this menu up here, and then I have all these different screens that I can go through. Now, I'm not gonna touch on every single one of these, but I'll briefly mention what they are just so you have a general understanding of it. So speed and time, range and fuel, these are all gonna be related to as far as like, you know, gas efficiency and things of that nature. Audio, I can jump in, anything I'm gonna listen to, it'll present me right there. I have it turned off. Phone, obviously you can connect it to Bluetooth. Navigation, this will give you a turn-by-turn direction, or you can have a compass pulled up, or there's actually a button for the compass. I get asked about a compass a lot more than I thought I ever would, but know that this car, having built-in navigation, comes with a compass. Any of the models that do not have built-in navigation typically do not come with a compass. Now, as we continue down, driver attention monitor, if you're using a bunch of the safety features I'm gonna go over, it'll start to alert you just to make sure you're kind of still there and awake and alert, obviously. Seatbelts, newer feature in the last couple of years here. Now it'll show you if someone's sitting in a seat and they're not wearing a seatbelt, it'll present that to you. It's great if you got little ones in the back so you can keep an eye on them. As we continue through this, maintenance, you know, anytime you get down to 15% oil life, it'll present you with an alert, give you A1, A2, B1, B2. You can look that up. Honda's been doing it forever. This way, before you even go into like a Jiffy Lube or you go into the dealership, you'll know exactly what they're gonna tell you you should get, or recommend, I should say. Safety support. This is where you can get over to some of those Honda sensing features. So I've got 3 of them here, right? The first being road departure mitigation. Now, if you're not familiar with road departure mitigation, let me explain what that is. So road departure mitigation is set up to where if I start to drive off the shoulder of the road, it'll be an audible alert and it can shake the wheel, right? To say, hey, wake up, pay attention, maybe you're getting drowsy and kind of doing one of those numbers. So that is what road departure mitigation is. It's very commonly misconstrued to be lane keep assist. Now, lane keep assist is also something in here, so I'm gonna explain what that is as well, because we're gonna go over that on the side of the steering wheel. Lane keep assist uses a camera that actually lives right up here to detect the lines on the road out there. So once I'm going over 45, I can press this button to turn it on, right? And you'll see it right here. Now, it'll start actively moving the road, and this is the way if I drift a little bit to the left or the right, like I'm not paying attention, I get distracted, whatever it may be, it'll actually pull me and center me. So it's really cool. It kind of feels like if you're ever in a car that has a little bit of pull to left or right, you can completely overpower it. So if you're worried about, hey, I might get in an accident, I need to control it, you absolutely can. But that's one of the features here. If I scroll down one more, this is blind spot information system. Of course, this car is set up with that, and most people are familiar at this point with that. And what that is you'll have an indicator right there, right? And this will light up orange. So if I'm in the car and I'm driving, that'll light up when somebody's in my blind spot. So before I get over, I'll see it. And then if I start to get over the car, I'll actually give me an audible alert to say, hey, there's actually somebody there. Don't do that. So kind of a nice feature. Wish more people in Austin knew how to use it. Go figure. So let's talk about the next one down here. This is gonna be low speed braking control. So what this is if I'm driving like in a parking lot or something of that nature, it's using sensors to detect on the front and back of the car. So this way I don't accidentally roll into somebody or back up into somebody. So really cool feature, new. You don't typically see this, especially in something at this low level as far as Honda. Typically you'd think this would be in a CRV or a Pilot or something that starts at a little bit higher price point. And then this car of course does have parking sensors, which you can see I currently have on, and they are on in the front and the back. So when I'm backing up, if you're looking for one of those cars that gives you that beep, 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 beep. Parking sensors, guys. That's what they are. You can't buy them as accessory and add them after the fact. You might be able to do it aftermarket, but not direct through Honda. So just be aware of that. Or at least, I don't know if they still do it. So don't let me lie to you that. I'll check on that in below. The last one is collision mitigation braking system. So what this is, I'm gonna flip you around again and talk about this. So if it's looking like you're gonna rear into a car, right? There's a car in front of me, it's looking like I'm gonna hit him, I haven't hit the brakes. First, it'll give you an audible alert and flash in the dash, and then if you don't apply the brakes, the car can actually apply the brakes to help you prevent you from hitting that car in front of you. Really cool feature. It's also good if like somebody's turning in. Sometimes it'll pick that up so that you don't accidentally clip them. But I will tell you that occasionally, and you can affect the settings on this, is that it'll pick up a car where you're like, I wasn't gonna hit them, but it'll throw that alert, and it can be a little scary. But you can affect those settings and know that you can do that in the settings to kind of set the, make it a little bit more narrow so it doesn't go off as regularly. So just something to be aware of. So you've got a lot of different safety features in the car. While we're talking about safety, I wanna go a little bit further into that, right? I believe you have 8 airbags in this car. So 2 front, 2 side, 2 knee now, which is a different story, and then full curtain airbags around the front and back of the vehicle with rollover sensors. So even if I don't hit somebody and I start to roll the car, they know to deploy. So some of the airbags in this car do really cool things. If I'm wearing a seatbelt or not, depending on whether I'm pushed up, they have different sensors that do different things so that you don't get pushed into something and kind of wreck your body. So kind of cool there. The other thing that Hondas have that you probably won't hear a lot about from different people is what's called ACE body structure. And that's advanced compatibility engineering. And what that means is the car is designed, if I'm getting into an accident, the struts that hold the engine are designed to fall out so that the engine will get pushed down and not into the cabin. There's all these crinkle zones on the front and the sides and different pillars to where things are designed to hit it and crinkle and push out and around so that nothing gets smashed into the car. Everything is designed to go out and around to protect everything that's important, you, your family, your dogs, whatever it may be that's inside of the car. So kind of cool. If you've never heard about that, it's proprietary to Honda, and it's just one of those things that I feel like not everybody at the dealership talks about. So that's all of the safety features. So before we leave the steering wheel, I just want to talk about one more feature, and that is going to be adaptive cruise control, which uses these 2 buttons right here. So when I get up to speed, I'm going to press this button right here, and then from there I can select this button. And what this is going to do is you're going to see some boxes appear. So I'm making these boxes all get smaller and bigger, right? So the more boxes, the more space it will keep between you and the car in front of you. And the way it does that is it uses radar down in the grill to bounce it off the car in front of you. So when I'm driving, if I set my speed to 65 and the guy in front of me is going 65 and then he slows down to 55, it'll actually slow my car down and keep that designated space that I picked using this button. And then when I get out from behind him, or if he speeds up, it'll take back up to my speed, continuing to keep me that distance that I picked. So a really cool feature. And if you don't want this on, guys, know that you can turn it off. You can press and hold, and now it says cruise mode selected, and then to turn it back on, boom. So if you just want classic cruise, know that you can do it, and then use your set, cancel, resume, all your normal cruise control buttons. Outside of that, you've got auto on-off headlights over here, and of course on the other side, you've got your windshield wiper controls, pull up and down for your front, and then your rear controlled off the little tab here. So let's talk about that. All right, guys, so let's talk about the touchscreen in this car. You're gonna notice I'm catching a little bit of the glare right now because they still have a protective like gloss on this. So I'm not gonna pull this off since this is getting delivered today. But I just wanna walk you through all your different features here that you can see here. So of course you do have a volume button now, and they give you a basic home button and back button, and then kind of a skip forward button. So if like you're listening to music and you wanna jump to the next song, you have these basics. There was a big request when these first came out, they didn't have any buttons on them. And a lot of people were like, hey man, I'm really struggling. I really want a volume button. Even though you have volume control on your steering wheel, people like to reach over it, right? It's just it's a natural feeling. So all apps right here will pull up some different apps that you have that you can show or turn off. App installer, don't be confused by that. It's not gonna let you install anything on the car. They've set this up and kind of blocked everything and made it kind of super vanilla, kind of lame, but hey, just want you to know. But there's all these different features that you can turn on and off. So if you don't use some of these things, know that you can turn them off. Just kind of cool that they've set that up to where you can customize it a little bit more. And speaking of customization, you can press and hold on here and know that you can jump and start moving stuff around. So if there's only 2 or 3 buttons you use, you can move them around, you can drag stuff, you can drop in different shortcuts and different things. You know, when I talk about this, I want to remind you that I have a tips and tricks video that goes over all these different things that you can do in the settings and the touchscreen, all these different places about this car, specifically about the HRV. So I'll throw a link up on the screen up there, and at the end of this video, it'll pop up. So if you want to check it out, and you've already bought the car or you're thinking about it, let me show you some cool ways you can customize it. Obviously, Bluetooth, easy enough to connect up to the car, not hard to do. You can connect, I believe, up to 6 devices to this vehicle before you're gonna have to start deleting and adding. FM, great, you've got it. You've got AM, you got Sirius XM satellite radio for 90 days, and then which afterwards it would turn into that subscription. Trip computer, if I just want to get that trip info over here versus in my dash, I absolutely can. As far as continuing our Bluetooth audio, if I just want to connect up and listen, I absolutely can. USB, right? I can plug in, you can see my Pixel 5, since I haven't upgraded yet, is plugged in currently. Know that you can plug a USB drive full of music in there and be able to just sort and play music that way. And I want to say they've even changed it now to where you can sort through folders. It used to have to be all the music was in one folder. Now they've made it, I think, even easier to where you can kind of sort your music in a different way. General settings, vehicle settings, I touch on these in that other video. I'll just tell you that there's some basic stuff that you can play in here, but they've really kind of vanillaed this down to where there's not a ton that you can do anymore. So just understand that if you want to connect up like a phone, easy enough, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, click on it, and then you can add your device. And then let me jump back over to that. Vehicle settings, there's a lot of cool stuff in here that you can do as far as changing door locks, changing windows, changing lights, right? Keyless access setup. I want it to, when I touch the door handle, open all the doors instead of just unlocking mine. So there's always different cool things that you can do. And I talk about a bunch of those in that tips and tricks videos, guys. So please check it out, man. It'll help you out. And I'll also put it in the description. I'll put a link to it. So just know that that's there. And they've cleaned this up to make it nice and easy to work through. Kind of have pictures to help you out and understand. AM, don't think I need to explain that. System update, it works through Wi-Fi, so you can connect up. Clock, you know, obviously you can pull up a clock here. You can customize this. You can even throw in your own custom background. So if you want to throw like a USB in and pull up your own image and put it back there, you could. So kind of cool that you can do that. Once again, guess where you can find that and how to do it. Yep, you know it. So Honda Link. Honda Link is set up to where you can connect your phone up to the vehicle. If you've never been to Honda Link or you're not familiar, you can go to HondaLink.com and kind of see what they offer. Each trim level is a little bit different and each car is a little bit different. You know, things like being able to start the car from your phone, or things like being able to have a concierge that you can talk to as far as setting up appointments and different things, or just being able to control door locks. Some of them are subscription-based, some you get for free when you first start. So there's a lot going on with this. I highly recommend, if you're curious a little bit more about it, just go to HondaLink.com and check it out. Compass, car does come with a compass, as I mentioned earlier. Smart Shortcut is a really cool feature they added in the last year. And what this is it starts to pick up when I'm using all these different buttons and doing these different things, and it'll start kind of dropping a button there that it thinks that you use a lot to help you out, to make it a quicker shortcut. So it's just kind of picking up on the different things that you do using the touchscreen. So really cool feature. And then of course, if you want to control the dimness, it used to be a button on the previous generation up here. Now they've just done it there. So that's kind of the basics to what you're seeing right here. Smartphone connection, this is going to be where you can access Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Obviously, you need to connect up a device first, which, you know, connect your device, turn on your car, open your phone, make sure everything's up and ready to go, and then we can get that connected up. So let me connect my phone to the USB, and we're connected. So that's how easy it is to connect up a car. And not only did it connect it up, but it also connected it to Bluetooth. So it'll do 2 for 1. So if you first time you're getting in your car, Honda Link Assist. If you're not familiar with that, I want to talk to you about this for a second. 100% free. Hey, yes. What this is if you get into an accident, the airbags deploy. Honda can call your car because they've seen that and say, hey, are you okay? Did something happen? Do you need help? If you don't respond, they'll send EMS out to you because they now know GPS location of the car, your make, model, and color to try to help protect you. And that's 100% free, and that lasts the life of the car. So just know what that is. Now, I've got Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I'm an Android user, so that's what I have pulled up. And I'll jump here and just point out a couple different things if you're not familiar with this. You can access your maps, so whether you use Google Maps, Waze, Apple Maps, TomTom, there's plenty of different options out there to take advantage of, and they're forever updating. Now, a couple cool things that I've done is, one, I've changed the background here, and then 2, I've done 2 different things. I've set up an action, which if you've never done that, you absolutely can, to where I don't have to go to GPS and then find my home and then hit that. I can just press this and it'll automatically pull up whatever GPS I've chosen, which Google Maps is what I typically use, and it'll start navigating to my house. So if you just need a quick quick way to get back, easy way, enough way to do it. You can also set up shortcuts for like people you call regularly. This is the phone number that you would see if you wanted to call me. So if you ever want to call or text me because you have questions, feel free to. I have it in the description of all my videos and on the About section of my channel. So know that I'm here in case you ever need anything. And then of course, these are all the apps that I typically use that are, I should say, compatible with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, right? So there's plenty of them out there. I don't typically throw up a list anymore because they're forever changing, but know that you can Google it and kind of figure it out. Now, if you want to learn how to do some of those cool things like set up these different action points, change the background, if you want to organize and rearrange all of these different apps, I show that in that tips and tricks videos too. So, hey, kind of a theme here, guys. Check out the tips and tricks video. All right, guys, so that was a pretty quick rundown of the Honda HRV. Quick, you can put that in quotation marks. The video's probably about 20 minutes long. I haven't edited yet. I don't know, but I'm guessing. So I want to talk to you and revisit all of those things that we went over as far as the comparisons, so you can really stack this up and understand how it stacks up to other vehicles out there on the market. So I'm going to start you at the front of the car. This car gets 158 horsepower coming out of that 2-liter engine. I'm going to throw the horsepower comparison up on the screen so you see how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market. Now, while we're talking about engines, we should probably talk about miles per gallon. This car gets 26 in the city and 32 on the highway because it's a 2-wheel drive model. So I'm going to throw that comparison up so you can see how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market, right? After we've done that, let's move into the front row. You get 41.9 inches of leg space up in this front row. So I want you to understand how the leg space stacks up to other vehicles out the market. So take a look at that comparison. After that, you can guess where we're going. We're going into that second row. You know what I'm talking about. We're talking about leg space. Let's be honest, guys. You got 37.7 inches of leg space in the second row of this vehicle. Pretty spacious, as I showed you. I set the seat all the way back. Powered seat in this one, by the way. Manual and all the ones below it. And then I was able to sit behind myself. So good amount of spacing you can use inside of this vehicle. After that, I want to talk about cargo space. So there's two different versions of cargo space we're going to talk about. With the seats flipped up, right? How you currently drive, typically if you had people in the back, 24.4 cubic feet of space. So I want you to see the comparison with the seats flipped up, how it stacks up to other cars, same style, same setup, right? And then after that, let's flip those seats down. Now you got 55.1 cubic feet of space to work with as far as cargo-ness? Cargo? Yeah, we'll go with that. So I wanted you to see how this car stacks up to other vehicles on the market. So take a look at that comparison as well. I believe that's pretty much all the comparisons that I could possibly offer. So last couple things I want to remind you about. One, down in the description, I will have links. So if you want to buy cargo mats, you want to buy all-season floor mats, there's a lot of different things that are out there. I've got links. I've done videos on different stuff. I'll tell you some of the companies that I've worked with that I trust, so you can take a look at that. Lastly, I got a couple things to ask as a favor. One, I hope that you'll press the like button for me because one, makes me feel good inside, and two, helps push this video a little bit further up so that more people see it, which is fantastic for all of us because I do a good job reviewing it. Right? Secondarily, I hope that you'll subscribe to the channel. Hey, man, when I got new cars coming out, I hope I can tell you about them. Or if I have equipment or different things that they send me, like if you want wireless CarPlay in this car, it's not currently offered. You have to use USB, but I have a device that sets that up. And on top of that, if you want to be able to use Netflix or Amazon Prime, especially with like football season coming up, you may want to be able to use that while you're waiting for somebody in the parking lot. You can use it driving, but obviously, don't be an idiot. I have products on that, and I'll throw a link up on the top of the screen so you can see what those look like, right? I even got those guys I haven't been affiliated of, so I can even save you a couple of bucks on it. Third, I hope that you will leave a comment. Hey man, did you like what I did? Do you have a question, a comment, a concern? Do you want to know how this stacks up to something? If it offers a particular feature that I did not go over, or if you wish I would go over a certain feature. Things like warranties. I had a guy mention that one time, which, by the way, every new Honda gets a 3-year, 36,000 mile, what everybody would call the bumper-to-bumper warranty. Standard warranty covers everything pretty much with the exception of wear and tear items, which are like batteries, tires, light bulbs, things that are going to naturally wear out. The car also comes with a 5-year or 60,000 mile powertrain warranty, which is covering the engine, transmission, major mechanics of the car. So understand that those are kind of the two basic warranties that come with the vehicle. Now there is a paint warranty that's like 7 or 8 years, right? Chances are you'll probably never need to use that unless there's some sort of recall that comes out, which I ran into in my old Civic. It was like an 07 Civic. If you're looking at the hybrid vehicle, know that there's a hybrid battery warranty as well. So just so you kind of understand the basics of Honda warranties. Outside of that, hope you will like, I hope you will subscribe, I hope you will leave a comment and share the video. Man, if you got some friends that are interested, hopefully you like the way I do this and you like the comparisons and you think it'll be helpful to them because they're out in the market shopping. Or you just think, hey man, they might think this guy's kind of a crackhead and drinks too much Red Bull. That's okay. They can watch it and then leave a comment and then press the like button. So, blat out. Other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Later.